the age 13 to 18 will experience some type of severe mental disorder as well. So it's important that we take these tips and apply them to our everyday lives so we know how to maneuver through crisis. We can't avoid we can't avoid crisis. There's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times, and there's nothing that we can do about that. But we can take some tips and apply them to our everyday life, and they will help us be able to cope and get through. So I have a few things that I just want to share with you. And I want you guys to engage with me, okay? So I'm just going to ask you to repeat a few things, but we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing that I just want to talk about is just say, heal. Everybody say, heal.
Heal.
Say, heal.
Heal.
The H in heal, which is our first tip, is helping me first. We all play many roles in life. We are mothers, and we are teachers, and we're students, and we're ministers, and we're leaders. So we're constantly giving of ourselves. And when we do that, we are sometimes left feeling drained. We are sometimes left feeling overwhelmed. So it's important that we take time out for ourselves and help us first. Because we can't fully give into others if we are empty. We have to fill our cup first. And you guys are doing a great job taking care of everybody else, but what about you? What about you? So one of the first effective ways to take care of yourself is helping me first. And it's okay, like Tanika was telling us earlier, it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to say, you know what, I need this time for me. It's okay to do things that make you feel good. In fact, helping me first includes anything that contributes to inner peace and happiness, alleviating stress and pressure, giving rest, self-fulfillment, and overall joy. When's the last time that you just did something that made you feel good? We are always doing things for everyone else, and we're forgetting about ourselves. And then we are overwhelmed, and we're agitated, we're upset, and we don't know why, but that's your body just saying, I need some me time. So that is important. If we want to effectively do the assignment that God has called us to do, we have to take time for our mind, because just like we were talking about earlier, the enemy is after the minds of God's people. So it's important that we are properly taking care of ourselves. God is trying to do something in your life, but if we are stuck somewhere in our past, we are blocked by our frustrations and worries, we can't see what God is trying to manifest right in front of us. So we need to clear our mind, and sometimes it takes us getting alone and spending that time with ourselves so we can clear our mind. But we don't only need the right mind, we also need the right spirit. And so that means taking time and spending time with God. As long as we're giving to everyone, we're not getting that refilling that we need. And just like you can't drive that car without going to the gas station and fill it up, you cannot continue to go and provide for everyone else without filling yourself up. So it's important that we do that too. And another thing that we need is a healthy body. When our body is wrecked with pain, it's hard to concentrate and fully focus on what God has called us to do. Now, it's not impossible, because many of us still function in our pain. I seen my mom lead praise and worship. Sometimes she would go to church and have the worst migraine, but she would still get up there and give God praise. So it's not impossible, but pain serves as a distraction. So it is important that we have a clear mind so we can effectively do the kingdom work. We are all kingdom ladies, and as long as we can have breath in our bodies, if we can do one of these, that means we have an assignment. God has something for you to do. So you need to have a clear mind, you need to have a healthy body, and you need to have the right spirit so you can be effective in the kingdom. So the first tip, and I mentioned it's only 4, the first tip that we have is helping me first. But the next tip that we have for effective self-care is exercising and moving our body, which many of you just did. So you already have a head start. But it's important that we exercise and move our body, whatever you choose to do, because there's so many benefits, not just to the body, but benefits for the mind. And some of those benefits, I'm just going to give you straight facts. Some of those benefits of exercise naturally makes you feel better. Studies show that exercise improves your mood because it produces changes in the parts of the brain that regulate stress and anxiety and depression. Also, exercise increases the productions of dopamine and endorphins, all chemicals that are naturally produced in our bodies and create positive feelings such as happiness and pleasure. So that means you have the ability to shift your mood on your own. Life is going to happen. There are things beyond our control, but we have the ability to move our body, whether you're cooking dinner and just choose to turn on the radio and do a little dance or shop, whatever you choose to do, but just move your body because that makes you feel better naturally. People are actually taking medication just to feel better, but you have the power to do that. You don't have to depend on something to feel better. So exercise is not only good for making your body feel good, but exercise is good for weight loss. And every time I turn around, somebody is trying to lose weight. Okay, I always try to lose weight, so exercise is good for that too. As we age, people tend to lose muscle mass and bone density, meaning there's a weakening of our bones and muscles that can lead to injury and other disabilities. But exercise helps preserve the body. So it's important that we move our body because we're preserving it. You've heard of the saying, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. Well, they weren't lying, that's true. You are decreasing the strength of your bones. You're decreasing the strength of your muscles if you don't move it. So whether it's a stretch, and whatever you can do, you know your limits, whatever you can do. If it's just parking a little further away from the store, if it's just taking a little walk, and if you can only get in 10 steps today, well, just do those 10. It's 10 more than you did the other day. But it's important that you do something to move your body because this will naturally help you feel better. But again, exercise is not just good for the body, exercise is good for the mind as well. It increases energy levels, decreases blood pressure, and I don't know about you, but in the Black community, a lot of people are dealing with high blood pressure. In fact, a few years ago, I was on the high blood pressure. Well, they told me I needed high blood pressure medication, but I didn't want to take it because I don't really like taking meds. Sometimes when you get meds for one thing, it gives you another thing. My mom, she had high blood pressure medicine, and the blood pressure medicine gave her gout. So now she was taking a pill for blood pressure and gout. So I said, you know what, I want to do something on my own. Let me see if I work out, start drinking this, start looking up natural remedies that I can do. By the time I went back to the doctor, she was like, you don't need it anymore. And I was like, thank you, because I wasn't taking it anyways. So it's important that we do things that is important, that move our body, exercise, so we can feel good in our minds, in our spirit. But also, it helps with, it helps with relaxation and the quality of sleep. And I don't know about you, but I've had some restless nights before. Sometimes it's hard to get some rest. But if you exercise, after you exercise, you're feeling exhausted. You want to get a good night's sleep. So it helps with a number of things. Now we're halfway there already. We're helping ourselves first with the age. We're healing. Help you first. Set some time aside for you. That's all you gotta do. Then the next thing is exercise and move your body. And the thing is, you can do it however you want to do it. I like to dance. And I'm not really a dancer, I dance my own beat. But I do it, I move my body, and it makes me feel good. Okay, so it's important that you do these things, apply them to your life. Take time for you, exercise, but the next one is create a healthy appetite. I'm not a dietitian, so I'm not going to tell you how to do this. You know what's good for you, and you know what's not good for you. So just like exercise that makes you feel good and doing different things, eating certain things actually make you feel better as well. In fact, scientists show that what we eat, what we consume, has a direct correlation to how we feel. So wait, Ty, you mean to tell me that what I eat affects my mood? Yes, sis, it does. That's exactly what I'm telling you. You can eat things that actually make you feel better, or you can eat things that make you feel worse. But you knew that already. And I say that you knew that because why, when you're feeling down sometimes, you go and get the ice cream? Comfort, food. It makes you feel good. And I'm not judging you because of that, because I didn't have to have a few Hershey bars to get me through. So I'm not judging you on what you choose to eat, but I'm letting you know that it's important that you choose to make the right choices, because overall, what you put inside of you can affect how you feel. And it can affect how you're able to handle and cope with things in life. So putting the right things inside, like more living foods, like vegetables and fruits, those things help you, because whether you know it or not, a lot of the foods that we eat, they have chemicals and they're processed, and a lot of the things that we're eating is actually affecting us, it's harming us. If you look into the studies, the things that are in the food, the chemicals that are in the food is actually causing cancer. And it's actually, there's things in the food that can trigger your depression. So you have to be mindful of the things that you eat, because they can be of harm to you or they can be of good. So effective self-care is helping you first, taking some time for you, exercising and moving your body, but it's also creating a healthy appetite, being mindful of what you put inside your temple, because you don't want to do harm to yourself. And sometimes we tend to do that with the things that we eat. Now, I'm not telling you to stop eating certain things that you want to eat, but moderation is important. And now, if every time you eat that pork chop, you get a bad dream and a headache, why you can't just leave it alone? I mean, come on. If it's bothering you like that, your body is actually talking to you and saying, I don't like that. I love ice cream, but ice cream don't love me no more. So I have to leave it alone. I can't eat it like I used to, because my body says, Ty, we don't like that. And you have to pay attention to that, because when you don't, you start creating other illnesses in your body. You're ignoring what your body is trying to tell you, and then you create other illnesses and other problems. So you have to listen, which leads us to the L. So we're helping us first. We are exercising and moving our bodies. And ladies, I'm repeating this several times because studies also show when you repeat things over and over again, it gets stuck in your mind. So I'm repeating it for you on purpose. I want you to go home and take these tips of healing, and I want you to apply them to your everyday life so you can feel better. And I know that it's true because it's been tested and tried. I tried it out for myself. So now we're going to the L, which is listen to your body. Now, listening to your body means when you feel that pain that's kind of unusual, I've never felt that before, or maybe you noticed something that wasn't there before either. You don't ignore those things. Early detection is protection, okay? Can you say that with me? Early detection is protection. This is true. My grandmother was diagnosed last year with breast cancer, but she was able to go and get it detected early. They were able to do what they needed to do, and she's cancer-free. So it's important that you check on those things that don't seem, don't ignore those things. If that headache has been constant and constant and constant, go get it checked out. If you feel that pain and it's persistent, go get it checked out, because you don't know what it may be. So one of the most effective things besides exercise is paying attention to your own body, because it's always talking to you. It's always communicating. So you need to pay attention to those things. But it's not just listening to those things, it's also paying attention to the conversations that you're having with yourself. Now this is something that we really, really need to pay attention to, because we are always speaking to ourselves, and we get about 60 to 70 thoughts per day. And now, all of those cannot be positive thoughts, but we have to be mindful of the things that we are speaking. We have to be mindful of the things that we are saying. Why do we have to be mindful? Because the Bible tells us that life and death is in the power of our tongue. That's what it says. I didn't make this up. It's in the Word. The Bible says that life and death is in the power of your tongue, but it also tells us in Proverbs that whatever a man thinketh, so is he. So you have the power to create. You have the power to create your situation. Are you creating a better situation for yourself, or are you creating a worse situation for yourself? What are you saying? What are you thinking when you're alone? Are you saying I'm always broke? I'm never going to find the love that I want? Are you saying that I'm never going to have enough? Are you speaking lack? But guess what? Whatever you're saying, you're right. Because you have the power to create. And studies show, the physician says that you're right, that you have power to produce with your thoughts. The scientist says you're right, but the Word of God also tells you that you're right. So you have to pay attention to the things that you're thinking. You have to pay attention to the conversations that you're having with yourself, because it has more power than you recognize. And as I sit here, I'm thinking about just conversations that I have with people that call in. And sometimes when you talk to them and you hear the things that they say, I'm giving up on life because this is never going to work out for me. I'm never going to have enough. And then when I talk to them and they're telling me what's going on in their life, well, I understand what's going on. And I can't judge them because I've been there. I struggled with depression. For years, I was stuck there. And I was stuck in a place and I was thinking certain thoughts and I was feeling certain things. And I couldn't be mad at myself if I manifested those things into my life. So you have to recognize the power that you have. You have to recognize the power that you have with your thoughts. You have to recognize the power that you have with your words. Now, listening to your body is acknowledging and not suppressing those emotions that you feel. We as women, we often suppress a lot. We'll keep it in, and we'll think we're all right because we're still able to function. Well, I'm still able to go to work and do my job, so I'm all right. Well, I'm still able to take care of these kids, so I'm good. I'm still able to do what I'm supposed to do at church, so I'm fine. I will just get through. But the reality is, when you don't address those suppressed things, they're going to come out anyways. They're going to come out in your skin. All of a sudden, you got acne. You ain't never had acne in your life. But you have acne because you're not addressing those things in the inside. So it'll also come out in other ways. You're always aggravated. Everything is getting on your nerves. You're always upset. You're always angry. Why am I always bothered? I don't know why I'm so short-tempered. Everything is getting on my nerves. What are you not addressing? What have you suppressed? What do you need to acknowledge? Your body is always communicating with you. It's always trying to tell you, this is my problem. I have this going on. So you have to be mindful of those things that you suppress. You have to be mindful of those things that you ignore because they're going to come out anyways. They're going to come out anyways. And I want you to understand the direct connection to your thoughts and your reality. You need to understand the power of your mind. Because many people don't understand that your mind controls your life. And whatever your mind goes, the rest of your body follows. If your mind is trapped, and if your mind feels stuck in poverty, your body, your reality is going to produce that. So you need to understand the power that you possess. So, stress, toxic thoughts. Toxic thoughts produce toxic chemicals. So just like we talked about when we are moving our body and exercising, we're releasing those chemicals that make us feel good, those endorphins, we're releasing the natural chemicals that make us feel happy and pleasure. Well, when you think certain thoughts and when you talk certain ways, you're also releasing chemicals in your body that cause harm. So you wonder why, and it's directly connected to certain pains. People don't understand fibromyalgia and different things that you're experiencing is directly connected to your thoughts. Directly connected. And these are studies. I didn't make this up. Your Bible tells you this, and the studies, you can go look it up. You can Google. You don't even have to look hard for it. You can simply enter in Google, and it's right here for you to see. The things that you think have more power than you really recognize. So stress knocks the brain off of balance. And when we think certain ways, we create a physical manifestation. Now all of a sudden, I was actually going to a chiropractor just a year ago. Just a year ago, I was going to see a chiropractor because I had back pain. It got so bad, you guys, that I could barely sit down. And I went to the chiropractor and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm having this pain. And you know what my chiropractor told me? We are transformed by the renewing of our mind. He said, a lot of things that we feel in our body is because of what we're holding on to. And to be honest, I was holding on to a lot. I was still trying to function without addressing the things that I had suppressed. I was depressed, I was angry, and I needed help. So I decided to go and get some help. I went to therapy, I went to talk to somebody, because every time I went to the altar to get some help, by the time, I don't know what happened between the benediction and by the time that I got in the car, but I had found that problem again. So God has created people in the world that can give us tools that can help us release. And some of you, there's nothing wrong. Some of the medication that you're taking, it's nothing actually wrong, but that you need to release something. You need to release that pain. You need to release that hurt so you can fully function and thrive in life. I'm not telling you something that I don't know. I applied these 4 tips to my life, and it changed my life. I'm not even the same person. I'm not even the same person because I chose to heal. I chose to help me first. I chose to take time and exercise and move. I chose to create a healthy appetite and eat better and be mindful of what I was putting in my body. And I chose to pay attention to those things that I had ignored for years because it held me bound. Those things held me bound. Those things had me, and I didn't even recognize who I was. And because I held on to those things for years. And so I want you to get to a place of freedom. I want you to understand your power. Those things that I held to, the enemy was after my mind. He was after my mind. He knew that there was a calling, there was a kingdom assignment on my life, and he wanted to get my mind so he could shut my mouth. He didn't want me to help the people. And that same thing goes for you. He wants your mind so he can shut your mouth. He wants your body so he can stop you from fully functioning and do what God has called you to do. But you have to stand up to that enemy. In 2019, I said, you won't have my mind and you won't have my body. In March, I was struggling with a sciatica. So that's the worst, most excruciating pain I've ever experienced in my life. I've never had a child, so I can't compare, but that's the worst pain that I've ever had in my life. And I didn't want to take the medication for it. I was taking it. Now, don't get me wrong, I was taking it because that's some bad pain, but I didn't want to continue because I understood over time taking that med would give me another problem. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to start exercise. What can I do to help this? And I looked up, and yoga actually helps. I started doing yoga. I started doing yoga, stretching and moving that part of my body. And y'all, that was in March. I haven't experienced the pain of sciatica anymore since I started applying the workouts to my life. I'm not telling you something that I made up. I'm telling you something that I researched because I said, God, what can I do naturally to help me? I don't want to add something to make me feel worse. What can I do to better my life? So I applied the tips. I looked up self-healing. I looked up tips and tools on self-healing, and I began to apply them. I had migraine headaches. I used to get migraine headaches all the time. But I started doing meditation. And all meditation is, and the Bible talks about meditation, okay? So we need to get real familiar with our word because a lot of times people, you may not believe what the scientist is saying, but the scientist is saying a lot of what's in your Bible. So you have to pay attention to those things. And so when I applied what I read, I began to spend more time with God, and God began to give me insight. God began to give me tools. God began to give me instructions for my own healing. And he said, I'm going to do this for you. And once I do this for you, I want you to go tell the people because I want the people to be healed. I want the people to be set free. I don't want them walking around defeated and feeling overwhelmed and feeling stressed out. That's not how we're supposed to be living. God has called us to live an abundant life. God has called us to live a life in freedom. We are all kingdom women. We have an assignment to do. And if our body is struck with pain, we can't do what we need to do because pain is a distraction. I want to do that, but this pain in my legs so bad I can't focus on what you called me to do. God, I want to do that, but my heart is hurting so bad I can't pray for her. What about my heart? I can't do what you called me to do because I need prayer myself. God wants you to take care of you. Effective self-care. You apply these tips to your life, it will change your life. You will begin to feel better and do it at your own pace. Start small, helping me first. I know you got responsibilities. I know you have children. I know you have jobs. I know you have everything that you need to do, but you have to take the time for you. You will not be able to fully do what you need to do in life if you don't. And you know what will happen? Your body will give out. As long as you're constantly going, you're weakening your immune system. So your body's going to get a break regardless. It's either going to take its own break or you're going to volunteer and give it a break. But you all of a sudden you're in the hospital or you got the flu. You're out of work for a whole week because you're not taking care of yourself. So it's important that we apply these tips. Okay, now, as I mentioned, stress knocks the brain off of balance. In fact, the ultimate cause of disease is stress. Now, there are 3 major types of stress. Physical stress, which is like an injury of some sort. Emotional. Chemical, which is like the foods we eat and medications that we take, different things that our body don't agree with. And let's see, 90% of what takes people to the doctor is stress related. 90%. So you mean to tell me that I can apply a few of these tips, 4 tips? I can apply 4 tips and it can help alleviate this stress and pain, and I can function and have a better and more fulfilled and a fuller life? Yes. Yes, you can. And like I said, I'm not making this up. I started this healing journey and I started to apply these tips to my life, and my entire life began to change. I feel better than I've ever felt. In the midst of adversity, in the midst of what the enemy was trying to do with my life, I said, no, you ain't gonna have it. You didn't have enough. I'm tired of depression. I refuse to go back. So I began to say things. I began to speak things. And see, we're born, like I mentioned, we have 60 to 70 thoughts per day, right? There's nothing that you can do about negative thoughts sometimes. They're gonna come because you have so many thoughts. You can't control them all. But what you do is you fight those thoughts with truth. You fight those thoughts with the word. Y'all, I was walking around saying I'm healed when I was really depressed and broken into a million pieces, but I walked around my house saying I'm healed. I don't care if I had tears running down my eyes. I said I'm happy. I said I'm full of joy. I thank God for the things that was not yet. And then you know what happened over time? I started feeling really good. Over time, I started getting healed. Over time, I started feeling good in my body because I spoke those things that be not as though they were. I mean, this is what your Bible tells you to do. That's what faith is all about. I know it hurts. I know it hurts. Sometimes life hurts. That's true. But we have to speak the word over those situations. We have to speak positivity over those things so we can live that, create that, and manifest that in our lives. So I just want you to recognize your own power. That's my job. This is what God has created me to do, to empower the people. And once I got away from depression and what the enemy was trying to do, I said, God, I'll do it. I said, God, I'll go. Whatever you've called me to do, I'll do it. Because I don't want to stay stuck. I don't want to be stagnant. And I don't want to see your people like that either. So ladies, we're going to apply these things to our life because I desire to see you free. Now, you done already worked out and did your Zumba, so you already got your E in. You got your in for today. You're here, you're taking care of your spiritual self. So you're here, so you got the H in too. You're taking time from you, for you. You're enjoying leisure, just relaxing. So you have the H, helping me first. You have the E, you already exercise and move your body. Shoot, you walk around this hotel, that's an exercise in itself, okay? Because this is a big hotel. So you already got that in too. And then you are, I ain't tell you how to create that healthy appetite. And don't leave here and say, Ty said I couldn't eat pork. I did not say that. I just said, be mindful of what you eat. And some things have a lot of sodium, but that's it. That's all I'm going to say. But, eat you want to eat, but be mindful of what you're putting in your body because, some things are actually making you feel better and some things are actually making you feel worse. And then the last thing I want you to just be sure that you apply is listening to your body. Remember, it's always communicating to you. It always has something to say. And don't ignore it and shoo it off. Because those things, again, early detection is protection. So just be mindful of that. I have a few things, ladies, up here from 211. If you need any resources, you have any concerns about the family mental health is real. And mental health is real. People are actually taking their lives because they do not know how to cope in crisis. But you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to face it alone. It's people here that want to help you. God has equipped people to help you so you don't have to feel alone. And the hotline is confidential. You can tell them all about your problems, and like Jesus, we ain't gonna tell nobody. Okay, so I want you to just understand the resources that we have available. If you have children and you're concerned about if they're on track for their age, we have a program at 211 called Help Me Grow. We help you get screenings for your child. Things are going on in the world. Some people, you may be concerned. There are resources. I want you to know that you're not alone. There are resources. There are people that cares about what you're going through. You don't have to give up on life. You don't have to give up on what God has called you to do because you're feeling so overwhelmed. Take that time for yourself and heal, okay? All right, I love you. God bless you.